Sometimes pastor forgets things. That's why I keep my memory on an external hard drive. Yeah. You can leave those places. Yeah, you can leave the external hard drive places. Yes, you can. I want you this morning, as we step into this continued telling of the resurrection story, to use your imagination and think back before everybody knew the plot twist in The Sixth Sense. Were you able to see it before it was spoiled for everybody? Right? You're watching Haley Joel Osment talking with Bruce Willis, the therapist, and the whole time as you're sitting through this movie, you missed it. Right? He was dead. Sorry to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it. Right? Haley Joe says, what? I see dead people. Right? A good story does that to us. A good story will put the truth right in front of you, but you don't see it until you're supposed to see it. You don't see it until the big reveal, right? Oh, it was a dream the whole time, right? Oh, the best friend did it, of course. And it's not just movies that are like that. Sometimes in life, the most important things happen right in front of us, and we miss them. And that's what Emmaus is. Emmaus is a story about having the point right in front of you and missing it the whole time. There are two disciples walking away from Jerusalem. One named Clopas, we don't know the other one's name. And they're talking about Jesus, and even though he walks beside them, they don't recognize Jesus. They are grieving, they are confused, they are disappointed, they are, by this point, hopeless. They missed what was right in front of them. But, spoiler alert, I'll give it all away here at the beginning tonight, this morning, whatever it is. The disciples felt hopeless, but hope was walking beside them even when they did not see it. Hope walked beside them. They had once hope, right? They were once people full of hope. They had followed Jesus from Galilee to Jerusalem because they had hope in what he had been preaching and what he had been teaching. Hosanna, they shouted on Palm Sunday. They believed in his mission and what he was set out to do. They believed that perhaps now something could finally change in this world. They had hope because of what he said and what he did, that the whole world was about to change. They had hope. But then came Good Friday and stole that hope away from them, which is often where we find ourselves, right? War, division, and violence. Shootings at secure events, at schools. Grief and burnout and disillusionment in our lives. That quiet feeling nagging at the back of our minds. Shouldn't things be better by now? Good Friday often feels louder than Easter Sunday. It may not even feel like we have lost hope so much as somebody has stolen that hope from us. Remember back a few weeks ago how Good Friday tells the truth about the world, that empires still crush underfoot, violence often seems to win, hate still shows up. It doesn't magically disappear as we move through Holy Week and into Easter. Sometimes we don't run away from hope, we just quietly walk away from it. And still, hope walks beside us. On that road, as the disciples were walking, Jesus showed up. No lightning, no spectacle, no great grand reveal, no I told you so, just walking beside them. Listening, asking questions. He doesn't scold them. He doesn't demand that they have stronger or better faith. He doesn't say, why didn't you get it? He meets them in their confusion. He meets them in their despair. He meets them in their hopelessness and walks beside them. That's who God is. That's who God is revealed to be in the Easter story. Not retribution, not shame, not vengeance, not you should do better or be better, but a holy presence, a love that shows up, a hope that walks beside us even when we are walking away from it. We say, right, the Lord is my shepherd. We read that 23rd Psalm today. Churches around the world will be reading that today. But I think too often we imagine the wrong sort of shepherd. We imagine an angry shepherd, a harsh shepherd, the same shepherd that perhaps as we were growing up we heard our parents quote from the Proverbs, "Spare the rod, spoil the child." A shepherd who beats the sheep to get them to go in the right direction. The Lord is my shepherd. One of my childhood pastors, Delmer Chilton, used to tell this story. He had a friend who was a pastor, because when we were pastors, all your friends are pastors. He had a friend who was a pastor, and she took some of her church members on a trip to the Holy Land, as we have done in this congregation in the past, a pilgrimage. And the pastor had done, as one is wont to do, all sorts of research beforehand. And she especially focused on that shepherding bit, because you're going to go to Shepherd's Hill, and you're going to talk about the shepherds in the fields. And one of the things that she learned is that while shepherds did use a shepherd's staff or a crook or a rod, they didn't use it to smack the sheep around to get them where they wanted. Instead, they use it to gently guide the sheep, to comfort the sheep. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And when necessary, to pull them out of hedges that they'd gotten stuck in. So this pastor, she's there on the tour bus, and they're traveling just outside of Bethlehem where there are some fields, and she's explaining all this from the front of the bus when the bus comes to a stop. And suddenly, as she's talking, all of her congregation members who are with her start giggling, and she can't figure out why. Until after a few moments, someone points behind her out in front of the bus. And through the windshield, she sees a flock of sheep in the middle of the road, and there's a man with them, getting them to go where they should go. And he's holding, yes, a shepherd's crook, and he is just walloping on these sheep. Completely contradicting everything she had just said. So the pastor grabs the guide and uses him as a translator and has a conversation with this man out in front of the bus, explaining that she did all of this reading, and that's not how she understood that people shepherded in this region. The man, who was very clearly tired because he had been working with the sheep all day, explains to the translator, yes, you're right. Shepherds don't use the crook like that, but I'm not a shepherd, I'm a butcher. The disciples had walked away from their hope. Their hope had been taken from them. They had given up on the idea of a good shepherd because they had experienced too many butchers. And honestly, so have we. So have we. Too many people saying that they are shepherds, but treating us like butchers. Too many people saying they follow the good shepherd, but proclaiming hatred and division and violence. Too many butchers, not enough shepherds. But Jesus is different. Jesus doesn't drive the disciples that day. He doesn't beat them forward. He walks beside them even when they're going the wrong way. As they walk away from Jerusalem, Jesus walks beside them. He walks beside us, not to force us forward, but to stay with us. And then comes the moment, the big reveal. I see dead people. The great author pulls back the veil and lets the disciples see what's really going on, lets them in on the secret. At the table, Jesus breaks bread, not a light show, not a display of power, a quietly shared meal, and suddenly they see the truth. Suddenly everything clicks into place. All the meals that they had shared, all the teaching that they had witnessed, all of the acts of love, the healings, that same love that refused violence on Good Friday, now revealed to them in resurrection. Resurrection that does not erase the wounds, but transforms how love meets them. Hope always walks beside us, even when we can't see it. See, the disciples, if you didn't notice, as I mentioned, they start by walking away from Jerusalem, and now, once they get it, once they see, once it's been spoiled for them, they run back to Jerusalem. They had walked away, but now they run back. Hope does not erase the broken world in which we live. It's still the same world. It's still the Good Friday world. It's still the world in which they were walking away from Jerusalem, but now they run back because hope changes how we live in the world. We move from resignation to purpose. We move from silence to witnessing. We move from hopeless to hopeful when we experience what God has done for us in the risen Jesus Christ, when we meet that good shepherd. Isaiah says it this way, how beautiful are the feet that proclaim good news. The disciples become that day the ones carrying hope. They go from hopelessness to carrying hope to others. They run to share it to others. Think about Noah up here running around just to run. Watch some of the kids when they come back in from children's church, how they run. They run to share it with others. Good Friday is not the final word because hope walks beside us. Hope walks beside us and then sends us back out into the world to bring hope to other hopeless people. We said, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. What? What's the next line? You are with me. Not, there is no valley of the shadow of death. Not, everything is great now. Not, God has fixed it all. But yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you are with me. Hope walks beside us. And goodness, love, and mercy follow along. So here's the question for us this morning, friends. What are you walking away from now? Where has your hope been taken from you? And where might hope be quietly walking beside you? Hope rarely arrives as a headline. It shows up in that way, quietly beside us, unassuming like Jesus walking along the road. Hope walks beside us, often unnoticed, always present. They say to Jesus, stay with us, as if he's not always. They say to Jesus, stay with us, as if they didn't recognize that he was with them all that time anyway, and would not still be. Stay with us, because even now hope is closer than we might think. When the world feels like it's unraveling, when another news story pops up that feels too stupid to believe, when hope feels like something that once upon a time you believed in, then pay attention. Take notice. Because Christ is still on the road. Christ is still at the table meeting us in the breaking of the bread. Christ is still walking alongside us, bringing us hope when we need it most, even when we don't recognize it, even when we're going in the wrong direction, even when we feel like hope has been stolen from us. It is not, because hope always walks beside you. Hope will always walk beside you. Amen.